I'd like to, I'd like to call the Fairfield County Council regular meeting to order, Winsboro, South Carolina, Monday, May 24th, 2021, 6 o'clock p.m. Can we get approval of the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved in second to approve the agenda. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Agenda stands approved 7-0. Invocation by Vice Chairman, Chairperson Green.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking you to lead, guide, and direct our path as we deliberate issues to improve the quality of life for our citizens. May you continue to bless our community as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, realizing that families are still losing loved ones and are still struggling. Give us your peace that defies all understanding. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Can we get an approval of the minutes? The regular meeting, April 26, 2021, regular meeting, May 10th, 2021, special meeting, May 17th, 2021, special meeting, May 20th, 2021.
Mr. Chair, I have a correction on the meeting minutes of May 10th, 2021.
Okay, let's get the motion, then we go do with discussion.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Green.
I have a correction on the minutes of May 10th, 2021. Under ordinances and resolutions, that should be Vice Chair Green instead of Goins.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can we get with the correction, all in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers? Okay, the minutes stand approved. Public presentations, none. First public comment section, Ms. Davis.
We have 5 who have signed to speak tonight. First, Ms. Norma Branham, speaking on the courthouse.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Davis, and all of you here. What a warm evening. My name is Norma Branham. I'm your Fairfield County Treasurer. And yes, your money is secure, and there seems to be a whole lot of it in the bank right now, and I appreciate that. I'm representing your local elected officials housed in the courthouse, in the offices of Judy Bonds, our clerk of court, Peggy Hensley, our county auditor, Pam Renwick, our probate judge, and my staff. All of our staffs, it's our home away from home. And I just would like to ask a question. How many of you have been by to visit or come in to pay your taxes since we reopened in October? Even the audience can think about that.
Yeah.
We appreciate the tax payments, but we also appreciate the visits. The courthouse belongs to you. It belongs to our taxpayers. It belongs to our citizens. We just have to live there for 7, 8 hours a day. We've been so excited about the plans that have been presented for the addition and the renovation of the current courthouse. Robert Mills would be smiling on us, I do believe, because it's a beautiful plan. Those renovations and additions call for new heat and air, controllable, dependable heat and air. In the summer, cool. In the winter, we'll be warm. And there have been many days when we've suffered both cold and hot. New electrical services. I didn't ask the other offices what their situation is. I have 5 very used surge protectors in my office. Everything's technology. We all know that. Phones, the computers, everything is plugged in to these surge protectors because my office has 2 outlets. Girls in the other office have 2, maybe 3. But I'm scared of electricity, so I hesitate to plug or unplug anything. Ask our IT department. Additional bathrooms. It's about 20 women in the courthouse using 2 stalls. Our men have to use and share a public restroom. I don't know what I would do if I were called to that position. With the addition, I realized that there are bathrooms located on the same floor. Was that my 3 minutes? Really?
Mhm.
Well, I won't say good the next time. What I'm asking you and challenging you to do is come visit us. Come take a tour. We'll be glad to see you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. William Frick, speaking on the courthouse.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try not to do what Norma did there. I emailed y'all concerns from my office, and I'm coming to you as a citizen public defender and your newly elected Sixth Circuit public defender. As I said, I will not be able to remain in that office because I'm not going to be there on a daily basis. I do want to introduce Attorney Kay Bolware, who's actually Fairfield native and a resident of Ridgeway, who will be taking over my spot in the courthouse. The chief concern I want to talk about today, 2 things. One, as a historic courthouse, of course, it is not terribly ADA accessible, and that's a huge problem. We've been fortunate nobody's raised that issue, but they could. And when it happens, we're going to have trouble. This plan addresses that. Of the 3 counties that I go to, while the security is a whole lot better than it was when I was at the solicitor's office and there was no security, it is the least secure courthouse we have in the circuit. I ask y'all to come to court. We're going to have court the week of June 14th. I ask y'all to come over, see what it's like. Some of y'all on council were on law enforcement and worked up there. So you know what the security's like up there. And you know when we bring inmates over from the jail, they park the van behind the courthouse. They step out of the van onto that slanted parking lot in shackles and those, not even Crocs what they got plastic sandals that they wear. And then we make them walk up the 3 steps to get into the courthouse. And then they walk up 2 flights to get into the courtroom or into the back of the courtroom. We've been fortunate, no issues have happened there. But ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I know there's my clients and I don't mean to talk bad about them, but these ain't necessarily the nicest people sometimes. I mean, y'all saw the person who was running around in Chester all week. That's my client. That's what we have in Chester and Fairfield as well, or could potentially have. So I think security is addressed with this. It's a necessity. I certainly understand, as y'all know, I've been in a similar situation where you got to separate wants and needs. And I'm telling you, this is not a want. This is a need, and it's something that needs to happen. And the plan, which I was on the committee that helped approve the plan, or the company that came up with the plan, the architects. And at least for me, I was in favor of them because they did the same thing in Williamsburg, which is almost an exact copy of the Fairfield County Courthouse. And we all want to keep the historic nature. And as you saw in my letter, it's personal to me because I had a great uncle who died defending the rule of law on the steps. And he's also related to Attorney Bolware over there. In fact, the deputy is related to her as well. So, I mean, it's important to us to keep the historic nature, but we also need to update and keep it a functional thing. And this goes a long way towards that. And I ask you to continue along that path. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Tony Armstrong, speaking on court. Okay. Next, Mr. Randy Newman, speaking on court.
Good evening, and thank you all for having me. Randy Newman, I'm the solicitor for Fairfield County, also Lancaster County and Chester County. Same thing Mr. Frick said, with 3 counties, this is the least secure courthouse we have. And I can't say that enough. What you have there is a ticking time bomb. You have the judge, the solicitor, public defender, public, and all these inmates using the same door. I've been in there before, and we have to hold the judge back in his office while we're bringing defendants out. That's no way to have a courthouse security set up. And I'll tell you a brief story about what you don't want to happen. In Lancaster County, the Chief Justice came up and wanted to take a look at our security policy. She redesigned that courthouse pretty much herself, cost the county $30 million for that new courthouse. And they have to have 17 officers there on a daily basis from the sheriff's office, and the county has to pay for that. She ordered that when she was Chief Justice. Now, today we got a new Chief Justice, no telling what he would do, but I do know construction costs are almost double what they were 10 years ago. So we don't want them to have to get involved and push this security issue. Also, heating and air is a big issue. Guess what happens when we're in the middle of court and the air condition breaks? Judge leaves. He goes home and we can't have court. So we can't have that. That actually happened this past summer. Air conditioner broke. Judge went home. We don't have court. We got too many cases to be just not having court because of the air condition. Things that we can have some control over, and air conditioning is one of them. Thank y'all for listening to me. You know, one thing I've noticed in different counties, and I serve 3 of them, is, you know, we all, you know, we don't have the money until somebody makes us do something. So I'm challenging you to do something before we have to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Randy Bright, speaking on county admin.
Randy Bright, District 1, Ridgeway. Wasn't that long ago that Councilwoman Shirley Green gave a harbinger to the theme of today's agenda. Failure to plan is a plan to fail. And there are many items on tonight's agenda that come under that auspices. The most egregious, of course, is how the procurement of a new administrator has just gone awry thanks to no real plans. Wasn't 4, maybe 5 months ago, the entire county knew we were going to have a new administrator. Yet, it took us months before we could even reach out to a professional search team to ensure that we had a quality administrator. Yeah, we might have thought about, well, we've got an interim administrator, maybe in our assistant administrator, but that's the problem when you don't plan. You think about things that you wish that will happen, but you don't plan for contingencies. So what happens? So we plan to fail. We've gone through, what, 4, maybe more people that we think are going to be the interim administrator, the long-term administrator, and not one of them has been vetted by a professional service like other counties do, like was done when Jason was hired, and some of the others. Now, we've skipped go on one other that I'm aware of, but that's the plan. So now we're in a desperate situation looking for a county administrator, and what we have not properly vetted and should have been vetting for the last 5 months. And when I talk about planning, again, I remind everyone, we knew 5 months ago, maybe 4, that we were going to need a county administrator. We knew that we had to have a professional search team to carry this out, yet we didn't do that. And this is where we are today. I understand now we've finally, we're looking for a headhunter, but that's long overdue and puts us in a very desperate situation and a very vulnerable situation. So we have failed to plan, and we're failing in that plan, and it's only going to lead to greater failure and catch-up work in the future. So let's remember Shirley Green's famous words in the future, and let's not fail to plan so that we plan to fail in the future. Thank you, Ms. Green, and others.
Thank you. That concludes this segment.
Thank all the people who spoke. Public hearings, there are none. We're now to ordinance resolution and orders. A, second reading orders number 771, authorizing amendments to a, to a redevelopment agreement providing a new county administration building as to provide support for the erection of a monument to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on a similar historical figure, and to provide support for the use of the teachers as a museum memorializing African-American heritage in the county. Can we get a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Pauly.
After speaking with several members of the community and hearing their wishes, I want to make a motion for the monument to be located on the grounds of Fairfield High alumni property.
I second it.
Okay, did you, you made a motion, you already got a motion on the floor, so you can't make a motion. You want to try to amend the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and second to amend the motion. All in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Okay. So amended motion don't pass, so we back to the original motion.
Here.
Okay,
I'd like to make a amendment motion also as far as the Black Museum in the teachery. I think that should be housed at the Fairfield High School also. I think it's a slap in the face that we would house the Black Museum in another facility other than the Fairfield High School.
okay, okay.
Second.
It's been, as an amended motion, all in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Okay, it fails. Any more? Okay, so we're back to the original motion. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Hey,
Okay, thank you. Pass. Second reading, ordinance number 769 to establish the millage rate for Fairfield County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021. Can we get a motion?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Okay, 7-0. C, second reading orders number 770, an ordinance authorizing Fairfield County to add new fees for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. Can we get a motion to approve?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion?
Chairman,
Yes.
on these fees, I would just like to know how we came up with these amounts and whether or not alcohol is going to be allowed on county property at these events. And if it is, I think we need to make sure we cover the county, make the responsible party who's renting these county facilities out to purchase some kind of event liability insurance that would cover the county from any liability.
Okay, I think we got a two-part question, but I think Ms. Bass, she's at the podium. She can answer one of them.
The fees are recommended by the departments, based on, what other counties, in the areas charge and do for similar items. And to my knowledge, there is no alcohol allowed on county property.
Okay. Does that amount cover cleanup fees as well? Or are we gonna let people rent the facilities out and we're gonna do all the cleanup for $50?
No, I think they're responsible for their own cleanup.
What about the, any kind of liability insurance, event liability, even if it's alcohol or not, requiring any kind of event liability?
I can check on that. At this time, I don't believe we do.
I thought they signed a waiver, if I'm not mistaken.
We did. That was under Chairman Smith. It's one of the things that he pushed, and we did get an ordinance passed where you can have alcohol on public facilities as long as you meet certain criteria, such as have having a bartender and things such as that, that was licensed.
And I think a
insured.
security was required during.
I think you're correct, yes.
Okay. Any additional questions? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. 7-0. We have, resolution DE. We're gonna bypass them, to make sure, council have a full understanding of those. Those some items we discussed in the executive session. So, so we'll go to number 9. Board and commission minutes, library commission. Minutes, those was in your package. Board and commission appointments is in your package, for aeronautics commission. Can we have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and that is Mr. James, Tyner, District
Mhm.
2. Can we get a second?
Second.
Oh, any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Stands approved, 7-0. Old business none, new business none. County Administrator report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, we had a request again for an update on the courthouse renovation from Mr. Bryant Brown, who's with GMK Engineering. He is here tonight to give an update and answer any questions that council may have.
Mr. Taylor, one of the things we talked about is having an itemized list. He got that with him?
I think you can go over, and some of this we thought was going to be deferred to a workshop that we were going to go over.
Okay, but, do you have the list, of things, on what they may cost?
I've got a breakdown of it, yes.
Okay, let's do that then.
Okay. Again, I'm Bryant Brown with GMK Associates, your project manager, the courthouse renovations. As of today, just an update. We've started in the demo part of the courthouse, in the back of the courthouse, the judges' chambers, bathrooms, up in the courtroom. We started in the 3 other bathrooms in the building, and we started on some demo or reconstruction up in the attic of the courthouse. And that includes a lot of the MEP, the mechanical, the electrical, and the plumbing. So things are moving along on those areas there, and have continued to work. That's pretty much where we are today, and then should be soon to start on other areas of the courthouse. But we want to get that done so that court can be had and keep things rolling along.
So, what's the cost of that, what you just talked about?
The cost of what we're doing there now?
Yes.
Roughly, construction wise, we're in there about about 257,000. Engineering part of that's about 114,000. Design is 295,000. And so we're roughly at about $741,000.
Okay, would that piece get you, ADA compliant?
No. No. It will help. What we're doing in the courtroom is adding bathrooms in the courtroom.
Okay.
This is part of the security. This is part of the ADA. It's part of the accessibility, the egress, but no, it will not. It's just the start of it.
Okay.
A lot of that, I keep bringing back up. You've got an old courthouse with the MEP. We just yesterday, last Thursday, we got into some piping issues where the pipe's 100 years old. And so but it won't answer your question, no.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm here to answer questions.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So how much will it cost us to get ADA
compliance?
The bathrooms, the elevator, the courtroom, and the security part of it, the ADA from the front and the back, we're looking at about 2.4. Includes a lot of stuff in there.
2.4 million?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And now does that also include heating and cooling?
That is a part, that's some part of it, but the breakout of the heating and cooling is around $1 million, $1.1 million. I've got a breakdown of all this, and so it could be a little bit off. But part of that package, of that original, part of that number I just gave you has some of that in there, just different parts of the building. And plus the addition.
Without the addition to the courthouse, how much money would that save the county?
If we didn't do the addition,
Right.
remember one thing, the addition is so that we don't have to go all the way into the walls and the codes and all the stuff in the building. As an example, the elevator is out of date, out of code. So we're adding that into the difference in savings. I estimate at this point, you'd be about 4.6, somewhere in there, versus the 5.3. And remember, you've got a $400,000 contingency in there also. So it's going to be a trade-off. And the thing in the courthouse you want to remember too is what we're going to do with all the stuff in there to make it for personnel and phasing and everything else. And a lot of this stuff right now, we've got the pricing locked in on it. As you know, things are going, but about a $400,000 to $600,000 difference, not counting the contingency.
Yes, sir, because one of the things, I guess in the bond, because I think the first number that set aside was about $1.8 million, for the courthouse, set aside in the beginning. Am I right or wrong?
That's correct.
I think you're correct.
Okay, we only have $4.2 million in the bond for not just for the courthouse, but we was gonna use that for the courthouse. I think we got the bond in 2013 to be used in 2014. Okay, and now we at $5.3 million for the renovation for the courthouse when we only have 4.2 in the bond. And you were saying that just for those things we had 4.6 million.
Correct. That's the budget.
So with the items that we have to have, how much would that cost? The ADA compliant, the heat and air, and the security?
Without the addition,
Yes, just what we have to have by law.
you're gonna spend somewhere between that 4.2 and 4.5.
So the addition is not gonna cost the 600,000?
Yes. Well, it's going to cost more than that, but you've got to remember, we don't have to go back into the hospital and take out all the walls. We don't have to meet a lot of the requirements, like the elevator example. The elevators there now is old, and you'd have to tear out that whole elevator, which is a tremendous cost, when we can build a new elevator in the new addition and bring the security up and have an elevator that meets the ADA. So it's a trade-off. You're trading dollars back and forth.
Can we get a itemized list of what he's saying so we'll be on the same page?
Mr. Taylor,
I've got just my list, but I can put it together and get it to you where you can understand it.
Yeah,
It's
let's do that.
40 pages long.
Mr. Taylor, was that 1.8 part of just the initial setup, or was it for the project?
The 1.8, we've never been certain where those numbers came from.
Yeah.
For any of those projects that were listed, I don't think they ever got an actual bid or a cost estimate on those numbers. I think those numbers were just plugged in there, frankly.
Okay.
And Ms. Johnson, you were here at the time. I was not. Do you know if there were any validation of that number?
Okay.
Let's get an itemized list.
Yeah, that is right. We need an itemized list so we can look at that, because again, I asked Mr. Bass to go ahead and pull the numbers, see what we had in the bond, and she told me it's only $4.2 million, and that's in the bond. That's the money that we set aside. And just now, Mr. Taylor said, well, the 1.8 numbers was not validated, but I tell you, going from 1.8 now to 5.3, and that's all we got in the bond is 4.2. Yeah, we got to do something else. We need an itemized list.
Okay.
Have a contract been signed for them to do all the work?
Yes.
Well, it has, but I mean, it's not defined as far as specifically what's got to be done. A contract was signed for them to assess the courthouse and to make recommendations.
But not to do the work.
Well, we've started some of the work, certainly.
Can we get a copy of the contract as well? Because I
Sure,
thought
sir.
you had mentioned the contract hadn't been
Sure.
signed.
Certainly we can.
Didn't that, am I wrong?
I don't remember. But Mr. Trapp is certainly right. We need to have an itemized list so we can understand what are the costs. Okay, because we cannot continue just to, add cost to every project.
Sure.
Any other questions from council? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Mr. Rory Dowling for another update on the First and Main development project, which of course is the new administration building.
Good evening, council. Glad to be here. Thank you for allowing me to take time to present to you all. I'm here joined by my partner, Jordan Jones, over there. And what I want to do tonight is give you all an update on where we are with the Fairfield County complex. So you may remember back in about fall of 2019 was when council approved our original plans to redevelop the Mount Zion Institute into the Fairfield County complex. A little over a year ago, in March of 2020, we began construction of the roughly $13.5 million project. And at that point, we had hoped to be able to deliver you all the building roughly about today. There were some changes that came about as a result of conversations with the county staff and some changes to the design that needed to be made for various reasons. Those came about roughly in fall, October timeframe of 2020, and those changes were continued to be made through about February or March. And so what we're looking at today, as things currently stand, based on our construction schedule, we plan to be delivering you all the facility in about the October timeframe of this year. So roughly about 5 months from today, we hope to be completely done with this project. Some of the changes that were made by staff included floor plan alterations, data connectivity, and electrical upgrades, particularly to the 911 call center, as there were more specifications understood about that facility. There was addition of the pre-action sprinkler system in that 911 call center, which was a pretty significant add. Grounding requirements for the antennas that are located on top of the building for the 911 call center. As well as increased generator size, excuse me. So you can see a lot of this was related to the 911 call center specifications.
Okay, Mr. Rory.
Yes, sir.
One of the things, I guess you got a lot of changes down here. So now are these the changes that caused the delay?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it was not, because and for the audience, one of the things they've been saying is county council, because of county council, there are the delays. But what you're saying is these are some changes that was made by the county staff, because there were some needs for those changes, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And so they made the changes, so it wasn't council, it was the county staff, but those changes were needed, correct?
These changes were needed, right, to operate the building efficiently, to operate in a way that the county will need to operate it. And these were made to the previously approved plans. That's correct. And the impact was roughly 4 to 5 months. The reason why there were delays is because it really negated our ability to reframe certain walls. It stopped drywall installation. It delayed the purchase of the generator, and it also slowed down installation of the sprinkler system. With that said, we are still trying to deliver certain aspects of the project as soon as we can. We're pretty excited to relay that within a couple of weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, we expect to be completely done with the cafeteria building. So this is the building, if you're coming up to the property, the first one you see there, the sort of elongated single-story structure that's going to be utilized as the early childhood development program that the county already operates. We hope to get final inspection for that building by mid-June, so that you all can start moving furniture into it and really start using it as soon as you can. As far as the gymnasium and the annex, we hope that that will be delivered by end of June, early August. So that facility again is going to be used for gym, fitness room, locker rooms, and some additional offices. The auditorium is looking very good, I can say today. The scaffolding is down, and you can see the ceiling, and the flooring has all been put in. And we're going to be putting in the original chairs that have been restored very soon as well. We hope that facility will be ready for you all to start moving in furniture and getting ready for county council meetings in the late August, early September timeframe. The classroom building is the one that has been mostly affected from a timeline standpoint because that's where the majority of the changes occurred. But we do hope to be able to deliver that space in October. And with that said, we're also going to be hopefully delivering the top 2 floors to you all within sort of the August timeframe. So again, giving you all the ability, not a full certificate of occupancy, but a sort of a temporary certificate of occupancy so that you all can start moving some furniture in there, making sure that all the connectivity is in place. And so that by the time we get that final certificate of occupancy, you all are ready to roll. And finally, the teacherage structure has been delayed because it was always going to be the final structure. We hope that one will be able to be delivered to you all hopefully late October, but likely or early November. And that structure right now is slated to be used as the African American Heritage Museum. I just want to reiterate that the county's financial obligations, apart from the design changes, which incurred costs of roughly about $800,000, your lease obligation, your financial lease obligation has not changed. So that lease is commencing this month because of the delays, but your obligation of that $4.2 million paid over that 7-year period is not changing. So there will be additional charges for you all, of course, for the changes that you all made to the plans. But you will still be paying the exact same amount in rent during that 7-year period. That has already started. The clock has already started ticking on that, right, as of this month, and you will be getting the building within 7 years.
Okay, and now one of the things you're saying on here is the staff design changes is $800,000.
That's correct.
Okay, so the building is 8.7.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's your the financial
okay
obligation.
is 8.7.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Then the $800,000 then is added to that, so that's 9.5 million.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay, and then tonight we also had $135,000. So we talking about, so what we're talking about then by the time we get finished, we're talking about $10 million.
I'm not aware of the 135,000. That's the first I've heard of that, to be honest.
Okay, now that is for the to make sure we have the IT information over there. Is something else we gotta have for the for over there.
Okay. I'm not aware of that. If that's something that needs to be coordinated with us from a constructability standpoint with our general contractor, we should probably start getting aware of that. So we should talk offline on that to figure out what that work entails.
And the other question I have too is, and you and I have talked a little bit about this one, is because the insulation, because the windows, they had to be made the same way because
That's
of
right.
historical. Okay, and because of that, the windows and stuff is not energy efficient, and they just regular windows and stuff. Correct?
They are regular windows. I will say we've got 3 widths of brick on the walls, which is your typical house is today built with 1 width. So
Okay.
the building is already going to be significantly
So
more.
okay. Okay. So
That's one of the beauty about these historic renovations is that people don't think about is that the way they were built with the quality of the wood back then and the amount of brick involved, you actually have a higher energy efficiency.
Okay, and one of the other questions I have, and it's just a question out there in the wind somewhere, but
Yes, sir.
at some point, could we put solar panels on those buildings?
Probably could. You know, we'd have to talk to our structural engineer, but often solar panels, they're relatively light these days, so that area gets great sun. So absolutely, I think that would be a great idea.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking the question is because one of how could we make it more energy efficient is the only question I have.
Sure. Yeah, and we'd be happy to have those conversations with our architect and our engineers with you about that. And just one more thing to point out here is that you know, there have been other cost overruns on the project, a lot of unforeseen circumstances with a historic building, as you typically have. We, as a developer, we are bearing all that. If you remember, that was part of the reason why this was an attractive venture, was because we assumed all responsibility for those unknowns. And so we are, to date, have about unexpected cost over increases of about $500,000 that, again, are our responsibility. It's hard to see. It's a shame because I did want to see you all to see some pretty pictures of what the building looks like today. This is the inside of the cafeteria building that I mentioned, right, where the Early Childhood Development Center is going to be. You can see it's pretty close to a finished state. The flooring went in last week. Got a little bit of paneling to do on that front side of the building, and that'll be painted. We'll do another coat of painting and do some trim, but that building is very close to being done. This is the gymnasium. As you can see, an entire new roof. Those original steel beams were all in place, but we had to replace the entire roof. That's one of those cost overruns. We thought we were going to be able to reuse about 60% of the roof, but by the time we went up there, it was just beyond repair. And so we had to take down the entire roof and replace it. You can see all the windows along the side of the gym. Those are all refurbished windows. So the original windows that we took off-site, refurbished and brought them back and installed. Looking here, it's hard to again see, but this is the auditorium. So you can see the ceiling of the auditorium has been completed, and the flooring is just about completed. That will be finished and stained, and then we will be bringing in the historic chairs, which were also refurbished. And then some pictures of the classroom building. You can see some of the great views that will be offered with the complex from the third floor. But you can really, this helps you get a sense for how far along we are. And as always, of course, we are very eager to tour and bring council members through the building. And we'd love to talk about maybe even have some sort of soft opening early in the summer that could be open to the public to have a controlled, safe tour through the building as well. Just wanted to point out that we've had discussions with council about the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument and the African American Heritage Museum. And we are fully supportive of whichever direction the county wants to go there. We are aware of the discussions happening amongst you all, of course, on those matters. So please know that this, at the end of the day, is the county's facility. So whatever you all decide, we will go along with it, and we're fully supportive of both these measures.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So you said it's the county's building, so it's not considered private property?
It will be private property. That's, but essentially, I say that sort of theoretically, right? So we will be leasing to you all, but at the end of the day, it will be your building at the end of the 7-year lease.
So my question is, can the county use tax dollars to put it on private property?
That's a good question. I'm not a lawyer, so I will defer to your attorney on that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, so if that's a concern, then how have we been able to spend county money for these upfits?
Again, I'm not an attorney here, so I don't want to.
So if Mr. Pauly's question got any validity to it, it means then that all the upfits, we must stop immediately.
And we're doing that through a contractual arrangement with.
Right, and
we,
you and I have talked about that. So we know that that don't have any validity to it.
So that's my presentation. Again, we're really excited about what this is going to do to the community. You know, if you walk in that gym or you walk in that auditorium, you can really get a sense for what it's going to offer from a fitness standpoint, from a children's programming standpoint, from an active adult programming standpoint, the ability to utilize that theater as a community space for weddings, church organizations. It's going to be pretty unparalleled. And again, we would love to get everyone out there as soon as we can. And we're trying to get to the finish line. But we appreciate your
I know that there were some questions regarding the use of the stage
Yes, ma'am.
and basically the fact that currently in its current state, it would be great for productions. But if
Yeah,
additional office spaces is there, it would limit that use.
that's right. So the stage is roughly about 30 feet deep. So it's a great, grandiose space for productions. The current plans right now, as were approved by the county, have the stage dropping about 17 feet. The remaining 13 feet would be reserved for meeting space, so potentially for executive session, for council, as well as an office and a single restroom. There has been some thought, particularly today walking around, about, if that space really needs to be there behind, so cutting that stage in half, and does it make sense to utilize other space, other meeting space that is already going to be built to preserve sort of that grandiose stage, and have it remain 30 feet? Because at the end of the day, it would be a shame at some point if you did have a production that couldn't happen there because the stage was sort of cut in half, so to speak. So I had a preliminary conversation with our architect today just to see what that would entail, and we haven't put any of that framing for those office spaces behind. So if there is desire to look at that, sort of now is the time. So I was going to put together some of that information tomorrow, just to give you all the option to think about it. I don't think there would be any cost implications, because again, we haven't done that framing. We would have to move a little bit of fire lines, but we would also be saving some on the drywall that we would not be putting in place. So.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You stated earlier that the rent would be due, I guess, this month?
Yes, sir.
Rent would be,
Yes, sir. So rent payments have started this month, again, because of that delay associated with the changes. But what that means is that the clock for that 7-year lease starts. And so there's not going to be anything added on to the back end. So the financial obligation is still the same.
I guess there's one other, statement. I think you have offered an opportunity for, I know you've offered the opportunity for all council members to tour the facility.
Yes, sir. Encourage it.
The question I have though is, how can citizens, if they choose to, tour or look at the facility prior to, being?
Yeah. So that was one thing that I was hoping to discuss a little bit, was the idea of maybe doing a soft opening, right? Not any sort of grand opening, ribbon cutting, but invite residents out to tour safely with hard hats. Particularly since some of the buildings are almost in a completed state, it's a great way for residents to see what's been happening there over the last 13, 14 months. So we're happy to work with staff on organizing that. Maybe, I guess we probably should do it sooner rather than later, because all the buildings are not conditioned yet, and it is toasty when you're touring through there. But we would be very excited about working on putting that together.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, have the department heads, have they gone through the facility?
I can't say that everyone has, but I think a majority of them, yes.
Okay.
There's some, such as transit and such, that wouldn't, be
Right.
affected.
Okay. Are there any other questions from council? Okay, really want to thank you, Ms. Taylor, for having you come do this update. I think it was very important that we have it.
Absolutely.
So,
We're here a lot, so we're happy to do it whenever.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
The next item I have is a request of action from Public Works to obtain approval for the County Transportation Committee to proceed with Island Drive paving project. This is a joint project, and it is being driven by the new park that's being done on Lake Wateree by Duke. They're doing a very nice park off of Island Drive. We anticipate it to be a wonderful thing for the county. The park that we have out there right now, the state park, is highly used. It's one of the more popular in the state. So this is a wonderful thing for the county. But we do want to have the road leading into the park be a nice thing also. The County Transportation Committee and Duke, they're willing to fund 2/3 of it if the county will step in and do 1/3 of it. And our third of it is $43,323.58. We do have money in our transportation fund, I think of $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, and this money would come out of that. Then again, the road would be paved. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's ready to be paved pretty quickly. Mr. Clausen, would you like to add more to that?
Sure. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chair, members of council. Yes, we did have for the committee meeting earlier, the CTC staff engineer, Bill Coleman, did present, and he said those bids were already taken. So the project could be let as soon as we approve the funding. So.
And again, this has gone for the Finance Committee. They have recommended approval to this to full council.
Question, Mr. Chair. Mr. Taylor, for our portion of the funds, will we have to have 3 readings of this?
I do not think we would. I'll defer to the attorney on that to make sure that's correct.
I'm not exactly sure what your question is. You're asking about 3 readings. I would assume you're talking about because of the budget.
I would think. I mean, is that
Yes,
what you're?
being that we don't have this budgeted in this year.
It is an unbudgeted item, but it's correct.
Okay. It may be unbudgeted, but you talked about some type of transportation reserve fund or something of that. Could you explain what that is?
Ms. Johnson, do you want to explain specifically?
It's the road maintenance fee. That's a fee that was established by county council.
Yeah,
13. I can't remember exactly.
I know what it is, but I don't know
but it's been
myself.
collecting. So it's a fee that's put on, collected, if I'm not mistaken, by DMV. But every vehicle, there is a $5 tax for main vehicles, if you will, and then 10 for trucks. That's somewhat of the breakout. I don't know all the details, but it's coming out of that fund that's been accruing.
The money comes in from transfers or transactions associated with vehicles.
Yes, sir.
It goes out in what manner?
It's used for maintained county roads that are county maintained roads. I think it says improved. It doesn't necessarily say paved, but it's to be used for maintenance of county improved roads.
So as you understand it, the money that has come in would be authorized to be used for this specific purpose.
Yeah.
As an administration does, yes.
Okay. I do not see a reason to have the budget amended if it's contemplated that the money would be received for a purpose such as this, and it is being expended for that purpose. So I see no reason why you would have to go through anything other than the normal administrative process for moving the money to be spent for that purpose.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, this is an action item. So can we get a motion to?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve the $43,323.58. Any discussion? One of the things I would like to say too is this project, as Mr. Taylor said, is a 3-way project. We've talked to the CDC, Duke Power, and everybody's doing this as a collective project. So I tell you what, we can't lose with this one. So again, I think it's a good deal. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. Stands approved.
The next item we have is another request of action. I will have our IT director, Mr. Marvin Allen, speak to this one. This one's more specific and detailed in our internet technologies. We're looking to have $133,760 used to upfit the data center for the new administration building. Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, other members of council and other guests for letting me speak to you today about this. I'm Marvin Allen, the Director of Information Technology. And essentially, to put it in simple terms for you, we need to construct some new data center equipment at the new facility so that when we move employees from this facility, there will be no interruption of voice and data for day-to-day county functions. I'll be happy to answer any details about that you may want.
And I will add, this again went before the Finance Committee meeting, and it was recommended to approve to full council. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is also under state contracts. It would not have to be bid. Is that correct, Marvin?
Correct.
Mr. Taylor, where would this money come from?
Now, this would come out of our fund balance.
Fund balance. So we have to have 3 readers on this one.
Yes.
It can't come out of the 911 funds? Or we don't?
We have looked at that, and we're trying to determine what all can come out of 911. They're very specific as far as got to be related to 911, so I do not think this could. And again, I will defer to our attorney if he thinks we need to take this to the level of having 3 readings and a budget amendment.
It depends on the adoption of the budget and how the fund balance was structured. If it contemplated coming from the fund balance items such as this, then the answer to your question is no. If, however, the budget was adopted without contemplating such transfers from the fund balance, then the answer of readings would be yes. So the question is, what did the budget contemplate at the time of its approval?
I will say in the past, we have not done many budget amendments.
Okay. And you've gone through audits without exceptions, is that correct?
Yeah. I can't give you the full history on that, but I mean, we have done very few budget amendments on items that when we have requested monies to come out of the fund balance.
May I ask Ms. Johnson a question?
Certainly.
Ms. Johnson, when you go through your when you go through your annual audits, have you been flagged for making a transfer without amending the ordinance?
No, sir, we have not.
Then I see no reason why you have to do it tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is another action request. Can we get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman. Second.
It's been moved in second. All in, any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is the same. Stands approved. Item E, Mr. Taylor.
And the final item I have tonight is we need the ratification of a procurement review panel. And what this is entailing is we have had a protest to a bid. And in order for the person to follow through with the appeal, our code requires that we set up an appeals committee. It's designed where the staff selects it, but then we have to take it to council for ratification of the members of that review. As with most things that we do, if we do something and someone does not agree with it, they have to have an appeals process, or we have to provide an appeals process, something for them to protest how we've handled it. And that's what's occurring here. Who we are putting forth to be on the review committee is Jennifer Leapart, who is in Human Resources, Gary Hensley, who's our tax assessor, Diana White, who is in transit, she's our director there, Carnell Robinson, who's our solid waste director, and Terry Smith, who is with the Sheriff's Department.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So did the person that is filing an appeal, did they turn in the request within 10 days? According to the procurement manager?
I think they met. Do you want to address that?
One was not turned in, but Ann can talk about it more. In the manual, it says a bidder that is turned or a prospective bidder has the right to protest. So either somebody that's already bid, somebody that wanted to be a prospective bidder. It also says in the manual, it could be an existing contractor. It could be a subcontractor.
Right.
All of those people have the right to protest, even if they won the bid. And let's say they're doing a project and I don't know, it could be a price dispute, et cetera. According to the manual, they still have a right to protest. And according to the manual, we have to have a procurement review panel Also, the manual states that we try to resolve it in-house first. And if we can't resolve it in-house, the person still disagrees, they have a right to go to a procurement review panel.
So I don't think in the manual it said you have 10 days to file a written protest complaint. Was that received in 10 days?
I will add also, this particular complaint is bringing this to our attention, but we should already have had this in place. So this is something that needs to be done regardless of whether this particular protest moves forward or not. So there are details to this protest that we need to look at and make sure are done correctly. But regardless, whether it's this one or the next one that may occur, we need to have this in place.
But back to my question, they file a report within 10 days?
Yeah, he reached out to me by phone, and I asked him to put it in writing and made him aware of the process and asked the gentleman to put it in writing
And it was dated within 10 days?
of the initial contact. Yes, sir.
No, I'm talking about it's a certain amount of time for once he found out that he should have, according to the manual, that if he didn't get the bid, it's a certain amount of time that he's supposed to file a complaint, written complaint, 10 days. So how many days had passed before he contacted you?
He reached out to me within the 10 days. Yes, sir. And I asked him to put it in writing. Now, that was not received on that exact same day, no. But the initial contact, yes, was in 10 days.
Then was that process done, like the bidding, was it done normally like we usually do it, or was something different about the bidding process?
I don't know that we should get into the details of that because that's something he needs to present his case to this panel. We're not here to discuss that particular case. It prompted our need for this panel, but we should not adjudicate it here.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Any other questions? We've started down this road, so we'll let it go on. Is there any questions before it is an action item? Can we get a motion to approve the list of names offered to us by the administration?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor? Any discussion? Any more discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Nay.
Okay. Let the record show. Okay, clerk to council report. I'm none. County council time. Mr. Gilbert.
As everyone know, the county was just awarded a settlement from Dominion. I'd like to go on record as recommending that we consider working with the Department of Commerce to come up with a independent source to be able to work these projects that Dominion has put forth, has asked us to do, to make sure that all the that everything gets performed the way that Dominion has asked us to, has agreed to, that all projects, that their responsibility, that all projects be done, the bills be paid, transparent, they give us a report, and if we take this settlement lightly, if we just, my point is that our staff is so overwhelmed with work. This project really, really, really needs to be thought through correctly. If we slip up and spend this money in the wrong way or something happens, then this county is going to get sued. My suggestion is, again, is that we get an outside source, ask the Department of Commerce to recommend someone that we can, give this project to take care of. The other thing that I want to bring to the night, when we had our economic development training on 510, one of the things that the Department of Commerce made a recommendation is that our economic development department needs all the support that this county can give them, that he needs the money that it takes to do his job right, for his training, his travel. We just cut out his allowance as far as his car is concerned. As you know, a conversation with Ms. Bass said that between having a county-owned car versus a personal car, paying the allowance, is really not that much different. But they said that appearance is everything. He is our front man for bringing for businesses. If he's got a county car that's got 300,000 miles and he's taking people over the, around to look at sites and things like that, it doesn't look good for Fairfield County. So my recommendation is that we support our economic development department, give him the tools that it takes in order for him to bring businesses into this county. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Ms. Paul.
I want to thank everyone that came to speak on behalf of the courthouse. The courthouse for many years needed remodeling and it has not been done. Instead of focusing on employees working at the courthouse and citizens that use the courthouse daily, we focus on $2.5 million recreation centers and other matters that should not be a priority before the courthouse. I will say once again, our chairman is concerned on self-service and what benefits him instead of public service. $1.7 million is being freed from the bond since the settlement has been agreed upon with the Dominion. We need to ask the Chief Justice to get involved and make Fairfield County do what is right. Over a month ago, I suggested to Council Chair, Mr. Bell, that we use Laura Johnson as the Assistant Administrator for an interim administrator. Mr. Bell and Mr. Trapp stated absolutely not. She was experienced and would have done a great job for the county. They did not want her because they could not control her. Now we are on our third administrator, who I was notified earlier today, received a phone call and was told he did not have the job. My question to council, when will we stop running around with no plan and hiring a new administrator? We need to be moving forward, but we are definitely moving backwards.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Roberts.
just a quick discussion on the monument, the African American monument. I too received a lot of phone calls in reference to why not the possibility of adding to old Fairfield's history, working in conjunction with. I do believe that that would be a better location. I do believe that prominent citizens such as Kelly Miller statue would suffice also. I just don't know how we would spend an entire $1 million for a Martin Luther King monument, even though he was when you think of civil rights, you think of Martin Luther King, but Fairfield County has prominent individuals as well that we could erect and have something to look at. And I would ask council to reconsider the old Fairfield site.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from council? I guess, I've probably been gone through this plenty of times. And I really, one of the things we really have to do is, somehow, begin to work together in a way that, we do go forward. Now, the only reason, Mr. Pauly said what was discussed in, an executive session is because he want to stir up everybody. Now, that was uncalled for, what he did, but that's okay. but he want to make sure everybody in the community get all riled. Okay, just like they said, the county council was the one that delayed the Mount Zion. Found out tonight that wasn't true. Okay, one of the things they did is they voted to not go to Hilton Head. We'll call the Hilton Head 4. And you can ask Ms. Davis how many people are going. Everybody except Mr. Gilbert. So let me tell y'all something. All of this stuff, as Ms. Green said the other night, is just something to make sure this county can't go forward. And everything they just want to undermine. But let me tell you, they brought up Fairfield High School tonight for putting the African American Museum. Okay, Mr. Robinson had been chairman 2 years. Mr. Billy Smith had been chairman. Did they suggest anything about Mount Zion instead of making sure they get it? Okay, but they didn't suggest anything.
You want to
Let
respond?
me, I'm talking now, sir.
Okay, okay.
They only wanted to make sure they got it. Mr. Neil Robinson proposed a committee to look at putting a statue or something at Mount Zion. Okay, what he did, I gave him a name. He didn't go further with it.
Tell the truth.
I don't know why you didn't go. I know what you said.
Tell the entire story.
But let me tell you something. Every time something comes up,
Tell the entire story, Mr. Bell.
every time something come up, I'm talking Mr. Robinson. It's all about how we can divide. That's all what it's about. Let me tell you something. We've already voted for the car. No one said anything about not spending $70,000 on a library and then shutting it down for $10,000. Nobody said anything about that. You spent the county spent $70,000 on the library in Ridgeway, and then they shut it down for $10,000. Now we can set up here and try to move this county forward, or we can set up here and do everything we can to divide. But you know what? I choose to move forward, and this council gonna move forward. And let me tell you another thing. You know what? I don't care how much you try and help us fail. The county, if we fail, the county fails. You got to understand that. Okay, and to suggest the Commerce Department hire somebody. Now I know, okay, and I don't know whether that they are looking at trying to help us with the wastewater treatment plant, but to suggest that somebody else come in and do that work for us is calling us ignorant. I know you've been hearing that kind of stuff out there in the public, but don't be a part of it. Don't be a part of that foolishness. Man, at some point, you got to stop it. Now, my other comments. Tonight, I think is the last night for Mr. Taylor and Ms. Johnson to be in the county council meeting. Am I correct? That is right, right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, I really want to thank Mr. Taylor for all the work he's done in trying to help the council, especially around economic development. One of the things I've always told him is that even on evaluation, that he have a good eye to look at the things and try to improve things. One of the things we did, I guess it was in January. We looked at a piece of property, and as we looked at this property, Mr. Taylor began to tell me how it could be designed, what we need to do, and we looked at all of that. One of the notes we had somebody tonight to talk about is it says, didn't we know we was going to be getting a new administrator 5 months ago? We didn't know that. We had all intentions of making sure Mr. Taylor, but we didn't choose that. He did. So since he chose that, that's his business. That's neither here or there. But I do want to thank him for his service to this county. And Ms. Johnson, I think she got 30 years. if I'm correct. And one of the things that happened in January, we was walking around a piece of property in January. Ms. Johnson told me, says, Mr. Bell, I'm going to retire. And I asked her then, I said, Ms. Johnson, why are you doing this to us? And she said, Mr. Bell, I'm not doing that to you. I says, okay, but the thing is, one of the things I believe, I'm retired. One of the things a guy from her community, her former community, said retirement is one of the best things that can happen to anybody. So I want to wish her well in her retirement. She deserves it, and I think she's been an asset to this county. But again, I want to thank both of them for their service. It's a lot to put up with, and maybe putting up with me probably might not be the best thing. But I tell you one thing, I do want to thank them for what they have done and how they have worked in this county. And I just wish them Godspeed. Now it's time to go into executive session. Can we get a motion to go into executive session?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We go into executive session. Number one is contractual matter discussion concerning proposed by agency agreement pursuant to South Carolina Code annotation 30-4-70A2. Economic development, discussion of matters related to the proposal for the sale of industrial property pursuant to South Carolina Code annotation 30-4-70A5. Personnel matters, discussion in the position of county administrator pursuant to South Carolina Code and 30-4-70A-1. Thank you. Are you ready to vote?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You think we need to go into executive session? Because all the information won't be out in the public anyway.
I know Mr. Trapp, because it appears that every time we discuss something in executive session, it gets to the public, but this is something that we need to do, so let's do it.
Ready to vote.
Okay, are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. We now go into executive session.
No, after this, you might not want to make it. Well, they- Oh, sorry.
Can we get a motion to come back out of the executive session?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Need a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we come out of the, executive session. No decisions made in executive session. So, are you ready to vote? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? So we back out of executive session. One of the things we did is, on resolution number D, resolution number 2021-04, a resolution authorizing Fairfield County to purchase certain real property on Fairfield County, South Carolina, authorizing the execution and delivery of an option agreement, approving the form of the whole sales contract and other related matters. Can we get a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay.
Nay.
Okay, let the record show 4-3. Item number E, resolution number 2021-05, a resolution authorizing Fairfield County to purchase such real property in Fairfield County, South Carolina, authorizing the execution and delivery of an option agreement approving the form of the whole sales contract and other related matters.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay.
Nay.
So let the record show 4-3 on both of those. Okay, do we have any other motions?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to withdraw the employment offer to Mr. Gerald Fields.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we withdraw the offer from Mr. Gerald Sears. Second, let me read a statement. On Thursday, May 20th, 2021, Fairfield County Council by a vote of 4-2 approved a motion to appoint Mr. Gerald Sears interim administrator. This vote was contingent upon the terms of a contract being reached between the council and Mr. Sears. In all matters of governance, the council value the needs of all citizens and our employees. In that regard, we consider the leadership approach of candidates to work in our county. Since the time of our vote, the council has learned more about Mr. Sears' approach to leading county government. While we respect Mr. Sears' knowledge and experience in county government, we do not believe that his approach would be compatible with Fairfield County at this time. We wish him well, and we will continue our search. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay. So let the record show 7-0. Okay, we also need a, on the, Ms. Davis. Here we go. Okay, on item number D, I need a motion that, that the chair, be able to authorize, to sign all contracts relating to item number D.
It's item A.
Is item A? Oh,
Under executive session, item A.
item A on executive session. Okay. Yes, on item A.
Motion to authorize the chairman to conduct negotiations or sign documents pertaining to the property involved.
Second.
Now, this is on the courthouse? No, okay, all right. Okay, all right, thank you. So are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed is nay.
Nay.
So how many? So let the record show is 5-2. Okay, yes. Okay, that was the agreement about the land, to make sure. Okay. All right, if nothing,
Adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
it's been moved and seconded that we be adjourned. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposers? We stand adjourned.